guys, if you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. Okay guys, I'm back and I just uploaded the video from Q for February 16th and we are going on to the 17th now, and we're just going to pick up where we left off. All right, let's get started. No, really, let's. Okay, this is the first post for February 17th, and Q gives us a link to an article on Fox News, which we're going to look at in a minute. And he says, information waterfall. Buckle up, traders, and he's got that in kill brackets, traders, Q. So let's take a look at what he wants us to see. All right. Former top FBI lawyer, 2 Trump cabinet officials were ready to support 25th Amendment effort. Now, this is pretty interesting. Former top FBI lawyer James Baker, in closed-door testimony to Congress, detailed alleged discussions among senior officials at the Justice Department about invoking...
As the number one choice of Canadian nurses, Pampers Swaddlers is 2 times softer and wraps your baby...
Sorry about that. All right. Where was I? Former top FBI lawyer James Baker, in a closed-door testimony to Congress, detailed alleged discussions among senior officials at the Justice Department about invoking the 25th Amendment to remove President Trump from office, claiming he told Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, said 2 Trump cabinet officials were ready to support such an effort. The testimony was delivered last fall to the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees. Fox News has confirmed portions of the transcript. It provides additional insight into discussions that have returned to the spotlight in Washington as fired FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe revisits the matter during interviews promoting his forthcoming book. Baker did not identify the 2 cabinet officials, but in his testimony, the lawyer said McCabe and FBI lawyer Lisa Page came to him to relay their conversations with Rosenstein, including discussions of the 25th Amendment. I was being told by some combination of Andy McCabe and Lisa Page that in a conversation with the Deputy Attorney General, he had stated that this was what was related to me, that he was at least 2 members of the president's cabinet who were ready to support, I guess you would call it, an action under the 25th Amendment, Baker told the committees. The 25th Amendment provides a mechanism for removing a sitting president from office. One way that could happen is if a majority of the president's cabinet says the president is incapable of discharging his duties. Rosenstein, who works for the Justice Department but who is expected to exit in the near future, has denied the claims since they first surfaced in the media last year. Fox News requests further comment from the parties involved. Lawyers for Baker and McCabe declined comment, as did an FBI spokesperson. In his testimony, Baker said of McCabe's state of mind, "At this point in time, Andy was unbelievably focused and unbelievably confident and squared away. I don't know how to describe it other than I was extremely proud to be around him at that point in time because I thought he was doing an excellent job at maintaining focus and dealing with a very uncertain and difficult situation. So I think he was in a good state of mind at this point in time." The testimony, for which there are criminal penalties if the witness lies to congressional investigators, comes as McCabe, who was fired last year by then Attorney General Jeff Sessions, has discussed the alleged meeting as he promotes his forthcoming book. On Thursday, the Justice Department issued a statement that said Rosenstein rejects McCabe's recitation of these events as accurate and factually incorrect. It also denies that Rosenstein ever okayed wearing a wire to tape Trump. The Deputy Attorney General never authorized any recording that Mr. McCabe references, the statement says. As the Deputy Attorney General previously has stated, based on personal dealings with the President, there is no basis to invoke the 25th Amendment, nor was the DAG in a position to consider invoking the 25th Amendment. During his testimony, Baker acknowledged He was not directly involved in the May 2017 discussions, but testified over a 2-day period in October that McCabe and Page came to him contemporaneously after meeting with Rosenstein for input in the days after Comey was fired by the president. As Fox News has previously reported, the 8 days in May 2017 between Comey's firing and appointment of special counsel Robert Mueller were seen as a major turning point in the Russia probe, which has also involved examining whether the president obstructed justice. I had the impression that the Deputy Attorney General had already discussed with 2 members in the president's cabinet, and they were on board with this concept already, Baker said. During the closed-door hearing, the former FBI lawyer told lawmakers he could not say whether Rosenstein was taking the initiative to seek out cabinet members. Question: do you know what direction that went? Was it Mr. Rosenstein seeking out members of the cabinet looking to pursue this 25th Amendment approach, or was it the other way around? Baker: what I recall being said was that the Deputy Attorney General had 2 members of the cabinet, so how they came to be, I don't know, but... Question: so he had 2 members, almost like he was taking the initiative and getting the members? Baker: that would be speculation on my part. Baker also said he did not know the names of the 2 cabinet officials. Lisa and Andy did not tell me, and my impression was they didn't know themselves, he said. But when the New York Times broke the story in September, it reported that Rosenstein told McCabe that he might be able to persuade then Attorney General Jeff Sessions and then Secretary of Homeland Security and later White House Chief of Staff John Kelly to invoke the 25th Amendment. On Thursday, the top Republicans on the House and Senate Judiciary Committees called for McCabe and Rosenstein to testify before their respective panels following McCabe's comment about these discussions. Rosenstein did not appear for Capitol Hill testimony to clarify these discussions, despite multiple requests from lawmakers when Republicans held the majority last year. On Friday, a spokesman for McCabe responded to media reports about his upcoming 60 Minutes interview. Certain statements made by Mr. McCabe in interviews associated with the release of this book have been taken out of context and misrepresented, the spokeswoman said. To clarify, at no time did Mr. McCabe participate in any extended discussions about the use of the 25th Amendment, nor is he aware of any such discussions. Fox News has reported, based on a source who was in the meeting, that Rosenstein's wire comments were viewed as sarcastic, but Baker testified that it was taken seriously. Baker testified in October that the alleged discussions took place during an uncertain and anxious time at the FBI and DOJ after Comey's termination, and the mood was pretty dark. Question: did people tell you that the DAG, Deputy Attorney General, was upset? Baker: yes. Did they tell you he was making jokes? Baker: no. Did they tell you that... Baker: this was not a joking sort of time. This was pretty dark. In October, during a separate closed-door interview, another senior FBI lawyer, Sally Moyer, who sometimes commuted to work with Page, described Page's private reaction to the claim that Rosenstein's comment were sarcastic. It was when the news hit about the wiretap and the department's position and what they were saying happened, and she was indicating she did not believe that they were telling the truth, Moyer said. Also, during the testimony, Moyer said the chances of securing a 2016 surveillance warrant for a Trump campaign aide were only 50-50 without the controversial anti-Trump dossier, according to transcripts confirmed by Fox News. Moyer's testimony appears to underscore how critical the dossier, funded by the Democratic Party and Clinton campaign, was in obtaining the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act warrant, FISA warrant, and appears to conflict with Democratic assertions that the dossier played a limited role in the process. Asked whether the FBI would be able to establish probable cause if the application did not have the Christopher Steele information in it, Moyer responded, "So I think it's a close call, like 50-50, 51-49. I really think it's a close call." So that's interesting, and let's go back now to Q. And He says information waterfall. And yes, whereas before we were getting information in little trickles, now it's a waterfall. It's like a raging waterfall, not just like a nice little trickling waterfall, but Niagara Falls type waterfall. That is what is occurring. And now let's move down to this comment by an anon. And he or she says, former top FBI lawyer, 2 Trump cabinet officials were ready to support 25th Amendment effort. Former top lawyer James Baker, in closed-door testimony to Congress, detailed alleged discussions among senior officials at the Justice Department about invoking the 25th Amendment to remove President Trump from office, claiming he was told Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein said 2 Trump cabinet officials were ready to support such an effort. During his testimony, Baker acknowledged he was not directly involved in the May 2017 discussions, but testified over a 2-day period in October. McCabe and Page came to him contemporaneously after meeting with Rosenstein for input in the days after Comey was fired by the president. So that was by an anon, just summing that up there and pulling out the very most important parts there. And let's go on. And here we are at the next. And Q says they were removed. When was Page removed from the investigation? What month? July 2017, early. When was Scaramucci hired? July 2017, late. The Scaramucci model, 5-5. Is that loud and clear is basically what he's saying. Those who left, the majority, did not have a choice. All remained pro-MAGA and loyal to POTUS. Why are we attacked by pro-MAGA? The establishment runs deep. Logical thinking. Q. Well, Lisa Page was removed from the special committee on July 15th, 2007. Scaramucci was appointed White House Communication Director and started work July 25th, 2017. He was subsequently fired on July 31st, 2017, so just 10 days. And, well, no, not even 10 days. If he started work on July 25th, that's only 6 days. I thought he worked for 10 days. Perhaps I am mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. Anyway, he was hired to remove disloyal, untrustworthy staffers, Priebus and Spicer, and there are some who may appear to support POTUS who truly do not. So, you know, he's asking here, but he's not really asking. He's saying all remained pro-MAGA and loyal to POTUS. Why are we attacked by pro-MAGA? Well, this could have several answers, actually, because number one, not everybody who appears to support the president really does. And there are people, even in this movement, even people that are doing Q posts like I'm doing on YouTube, that really have ulterior motives and really are not truly for the president or for Q. So we've got to keep that in mind. Also, we have to remember that we're watching a movie. Isn't that what Q has told us? What makes a good movie? Good acting, good script, lots of action. We got it all. So if we're watching a movie, then we have to realize that maybe there are some pro-POTUS people that are actually acting as if they are not, for whatever reasons. So this could be looked at in a variety of ways. So let's continue on to the next. And we get this one, which is just, it has two links to White House government briefings, and we're going to take a look at each of those. Maybe. Come on. Here we go. President Donald J. Trump's border security victory. Fact sheets. National Security and Defense issued on February 15th, 2019. I will never waver from my sacred duty to defend this nation and its people. We will get the job done. President Donald J. Trump. Securing our border. President Donald J. Trump is following through on his promise to secure the border with legislation and executive action. President Trump was elected partly on his promise to secure the southern border with a barrier, and since his first day in office, he has been following through on that promise. As the president has said, sections of the border wall are already being built, and legislation and executive actions are building on that progress. Executive action being taken by the president makes available additional funding to secure our border that is essential to our national security. Legislative wins. President Trump secured a number of significant legislative victories in the Homeland Security Appropriations Bill that further his efforts to secure the southern border and protect our country. The funding bill contains robust resources and additional provisions to secure the border and strengthen immigration enforcement. The bill provides $1.375 billion for approximately 55 miles of border barrier in highly dangerous and drug smuggling areas in the Rio Grande Valley where it is desperately needed. More than 40% of all border apprehensions occur in the Rio Grande Valley sector in fiscal year 2018. The Rio Grande Valley was the border sector with the most known deaths of illegal border crossers in fiscal year 2018. $415 million will go towards addressing the humanitarian crisis at the border by providing medical care, transportation, processing centers, and consumables. President Trump successfully rejected efforts by some to undercut Immigration and Customs Enforcement's ICE ability to uphold our laws and detain illegal aliens, including criminals. ICE funding supports nearly 5,000 additional beds to detain illegal aliens and keep criminals off our streets. Custom and Border Protection will receive funding for 600 additional officers. This bill will help keep deadly drugs out of our communities by increasing drug detection at ports of entry, including opioid detection, staffing, labs, and equipment. A promise to act. President Trump is taking executive action to ensure we stop the national security and humanitarian crisis at our southern border. President Trump is using his legal authority to take executive action to ensure additional resources, just as he promised. In fact, he is declaring a national emergency that makes available additional troops and funding for military construction, including funding in Homeland Security appropriations. The administration has so far identified up to $8.1 billion that will be available to build the border wall once a national emergency is declared, and additional funds have been reprogrammed, including about $601 million from the Treasury Forfeiture Fund, up to $2.5 billion under the Department of Defense funds transferred for support for counter-drug activities, up to $3.6 billion reallocated from Department of Defense military construction projects under the President's declaration of a national emergency, Title 10 U.S. State Code, Section 2808. These funding sources will be used sequentially and as needed. The Department of Homeland Security, Department of Defense, and the Army Corps of Engineers are working to create a prioritized list of segments and a work plan for the remainder of fiscal year 2019 and beyond. New projects could include new levee wall, new and replacement primary pedestrian barrier, new vehicle to pedestrian barrier, and new secondary barrier. National emergency on our border. The president is using his clear authority to declare a national emergency as allowed under the National Emergencies Act. Since 1976, presidents have declared nearly 60 national emergencies. So when the mainstream media tries to tell us that this is rare, it's not rare at all. Not at all. Most of the previously declared national emergencies have been continually renewed and are still in effect after being continually renewed. Multiple governors have declared states of emergencies along the border in the past. Former Arizona Governor Janet Napolitano, who became President Obama's DHS secretary, declared a state of emergency along the border in 2005. Former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson also declared a state of emergency at the border in 2005. Former President George W. Bush and former President Obama both directed the use of the military to assist DHS in securing and managing the southern border. You don't hear that in the mainstream media, do you? Former President Bush declared a national emergency in 2001, which invoked reprogramming authority granted by Title 10 U.S. States Code Section 2808, and both he and former President Obama used that authority a total of 18 times to fund projects between 2001 and 2014. No, not rare at all. But to listen to the Dems, yeah. Addressing the crisis at hand, President Trump is taking the necessary steps to address the crisis at our southern border and to stop crimes and drug from flooding into our nation. Now, I am reading all of this because all of this is important to counteract the misinformation that we're getting. It's not just misinformation, they're lies from the mainstream media. We need this information to counter that. So that is why I think it's necessary to read this. It's coming straight from the president. Cartels, traffickers, and gangs like the vile MS-13 gang have taken advantage of our weak borders for their own gain. Immigration officers have made 266,000 arrests of criminal aliens in the last 2 fiscal years. This includes aliens charged or convicted of approximately 100,000 assaults, 30,000 sex crimes, and 4,000 killings. I mean, even one killing is too many. Even one sex crime is too many. One assault is too many, especially when it comes from an illegal alien who has no business in this country in the first place. Tons of deadly drugs have flooded across the border and into our communities, taking countless American lives. Methamphetamines, heroin, cocaine, and fentanyl all flow across our southern border and destroy our communities. More than 70,000 Americans died of drug overdoses in 2017 alone. Human traffickers exploit our borders to traffic young girls and women into our country and sell them into prostitution and slavery. Massive caravans of migrants view our unsecure border as a way to gain illegal entry into our country and take advantage of our nonsensical immigration loopholes. Very, very well spoken. Very important and very informative. Now, let's go back and look at the second one. Statement by the President. Today, I have signed into law H.J. Res 31, the Consolidated Appropriations Act 2019, the act which authorizes appropriations to fund the operation of a number of agencies in the federal government through September 30th, 2019. Certain provisions of the act, such as Division F under the heading Contribution for International Peacekeeping Activities, would require advance notice to the Congress before the President may direct certain military action or provide certain forms of military assistance. In signing the act, I reiterate the well-established understanding of the executive branch that these types of provisions encompass only military actions for which providing advance notice is feasible and consistent with the President's constitutional authority and duty as Commander-in-Chief to ensure national security. In addition, Division C, Section 527, and Division A, Section 516, both restrict the transfer of Guantanamo detainees to the United States. I will treat these and similar provisions consistent with the President's constitutional authority as Commander-in-Chief. Numerous provisions could, in certain circumstances, interfere with the exercise of the President's constitutional authorities to negotiate international agreements, such as Division C, Sections 509, 518, and 530, and Division F, sections 710C and 713A, to articulate the position of the United States in international fora, such as Division F, sections 7025C, 7029A, B1, 7031D2, 7042H1, 7043G, 7047B3, 7054B, and 7060C, 2D3. To receive ambassadors such as Division F, Section 7031C, and to recognize foreign governments such as Division F, Sections 7047B2A, my administration will treat each of these provisions consistent with the President's constitutional authorities with respect to foreign relations. This is pretty much going through the act that he signed and telling basically, why these provisions are. I'm just not sure if it's necessary that we read all this. Let me go to the last paragraph. Numerous provisions purport in certain circumstances to condition the authority of officers to spend or reallocate funds on the approval of congressional committees. Division B, Section 702, 706, and 716A, B, Division E, Sections 403 and 409, Division G, Sections 188, 405, and 406. These are impermissible forms of congressional aggrandizement in the execution of the laws other than by the enactment of statutes. My administration will make appropriate efforts to notify the relevant committees before taking the specified actions and will accord the recommendations of such committees all appropriate and serious consideration, but it will not treat spending decisions as dependent on the approval of congressional committees. So President Trump is basically going through that act and saying what he will comply with and what he won't, what is against the Constitution and so forth, and what his powers are, his presidential powers are. So when we go back here, the statement by the president illustrates to us why the restrictions that the Democrats inserted into the bill to usurp the president's constitutional authority can be ignored. So yeah, it's pretty important. And I'm including this by De Oppressor Liber, this comment. Fox News article yesterday saying 2 cabinet-level positions were ready to support removal of POTUS under 25th Amendment. Last night, I mentioned could have been Tillerson, but Priebus, as chief of staff, also had cabinet-level position, and we know he was removed after Scaramucci was brought on board in late July 2017. Carter Page had been identified as a plant and removed in early July 2017. Priebus and Spicer were removed shortly thereafter. Not all who remain are pro-MAGA. Rosenstein, for example, he will be out next week. Now, this, of course, is actually commenting on the one previous to the one we just looked at, but I forgot. All right, so let's move on. Just one moment. I don't want to have a coughing fit. It's not pleasant for either one of us. All right. Now, let's go up to the top here and get the next one. And it is this, and Q is includes a comment by an anon. Well, actually, it says anon, but it has Q under here. So I don't know if it's a... I'm not sure. I think what has happened is this anon is quoting Q. That's what I would think, because here we have anon and then underneath we have Q. So that's what I would assume is going on here. All right. So Q says, well, this anon quoting Q says, the Scaramucci play, temp hire to remove embedded untrustworthy staffers, Spicer, Priebus. Temps can be dangerous to those who are targeted. Think Whitaker next week. So this was a post from, I think I have crumbs on my cheek. This was a post from November 10th, and Q is reminding us of that, and also this, and this is actually the entire post from November 10th, and Let me see if this is big enough for me to read here. I think it is. The Scaramucci play, temp hire to remove embedded untrustworthy staffers, Priebus, Spicer. Temps can be very dangerous to those targeted. Think Whitaker next week. White House optics must remain stable. Many did not leave by choice. Save face and promote MAGA or be exposed. Less than 10. Attacks occur from all directions. Logical thinking. Why attack a movement simply by design? Asking people to think for themselves. Control equals power. Why are the biggest news companies in the world continuing to attack this movement? Why is the Washington Post leading the attacks? Why do the attacks come in waves? Coordinated? You attacked those the most who are the biggest threat. Ain't that the truth? Swamp contains red and blue. So, and Q is reminding us that, it's not just the Democrats. There are Republicans in the swamp as well. So it's both sides. And he's reminding us here of the attacks and so forth, and reminding us that they didn't leave by choice. Some, left because they wanted to save face, because if they didn't, they would be exposed. So anyway, Q is responding to this just basically with a nod here, saying, yep, gives a nod, gives a thumbs up to this. And basically this is just reminding us of what has been stated in the past, November 10th to be precise. And we can move on now. All right. Now, here we are at the next post, and let me make this a little bit bigger. Hopefully I can read this. Let me get this a little bit bigger so we can see it. I know some of you are on your phones and tablets. Okay, so Q here is quoting an anon, and this anon says it's a screenshot from the 2019-02-16 statement by President, the White House, and he says numerous provisions purport in certain circumstances to condition the authority of officers to spend or reallocate funds on the approval of congressional committees, Division B, sections 702, 706, and 716A, Division E, sections 403 and 409, Division G, sections 188, 405 and 406. These are impermissible forms of congressional aggrandizement in the execution of the laws other than by the enactment of statutes. My administration will make appropriate efforts to notify the relevant committees before taking the specified actions and will accord the recommendations of such committees all appropriate and serious consideration, but it will not treat spending decisions as dependent on the approval of congressional committees. I think he's made that pretty clear. And below, this Anon asks, so all restrictions are off? And Q responds, trust your president. Q. I would assume that the restrictions that they placed into those, there are ways around it, Q is saying. So, he's not, or POTUS is not going to do anything illegal or against the Constitution or anything. But a lot of those provisions that they stuck in there were not constitutional. So, Q is saying, trust your president. He's got this. All right, he's got it. And I would tend to agree. All right. Oh, let me just see if I think there's something else down here I need to read. Yes, this is a comment by Lisa Mae Crowley, who I really respect her work. I think she is very, very intelligent, and she does good at decoding. Q confirms Anon's post regarding President Trump asserting presidential constitutional authority to make various executive decisions Dems attempted to restrict/prohibit as advisory and non-binding. He will not treat spending decisions as dependent on approval of congressional committees. This should be good news to us all and should give us and bring us a lot of relief, and I hope that it does. All right, now let's continue. All right, and here we are at the next one, And Q, again, is referencing an anon who states, Trump's statement is brilliant. Deep State loaded the bill with multiple facets to block it, and his White House statement just released systematically points out section by section where they tried to block him, and he's countering that by citing presidential and constitutional authority. Shall we play a game? Where we go one, we go all. Hashtag QAnon, hashtag Patriots, hashtag The Great Awakening. And Q, of course, gives this anon a nod and basically, saying, yep, you got it. All right, now let's go on to the next. And here we are. And again, Q is making note of a post by an anon who states, I trust POTUS and I trust the Lord. The Lord is leading POTUS. Of that, I'm certain. And Q responds, the Lord is leading us all. Good versus evil. Q. Wonderful post, very straightforward, needs no explanation. And here we are at the next. And again, Q is referencing an anon who says, PBQ, these phrases below imply that Trump plans on following his constitutional rights no matter what he signed in the Consolidated Appropriations Act 2019, the act which authorized appropriations to fund the operation of a number of agencies in the federal government through September 30th, 2019. My administration will treat each of these provisions consistent with the president's constitutional authorities with respect to foreign relations, and my administration will continue the practice of treating provisions like these as advisory and non-binding. And my administration will make appropriate efforts to notify the relevant committees before taking the specified action and will accord the recommendations of such committees all appropriate and serious consideration, but it will not treat spending decisions as dependent on the approval of congressional committees. And Q responds with, you are the news now, Q. And why did he say that? Because this anon is encapsulating what he spoke and pushing it out to others. And Q is saying, you are the news now. And we are. We are. So, because you don't think the mainstream media is going to report this, do you? No, they won't. The way they report it is, oh, well, he caved and, the Democrats won. And, I mean, come on. We know better than that. All right. And here, Q is referencing a Twitter account. So let's go see what this is, shall we? Of course we shall. Here we go. Can't remember what this is. Oh, I do remember what this is. It's good too. Okay. Now, just waiting for it. Here we go. All right. Now, it says this man needs to be heard. He is fed up with liberals and their destructive behavior. Don't like this country? Leave. Oh, I couldn't say it better myself. Well, let's give him a listen because he's very, he's well-spoken. He speaks his mind well. All right. Let's listen here. Is this not the, let me see. Where is the, This was a, oh, there it is. Okay. My computer's just, I don't know what the deal is tonight, but it's slow. I guess the hamsters are cold. They just can't. Okay, here we go. Yep. It'd be nice if I turned it up. Okay, here we go. Now, let me turn this up and, all right.
Testing? Really? Man, I don't understand it. Obviously, it's not Republicans out there causing all this destruction. Burning up the streets, blocking roads, and things like that. It's the liberals, These are the same people that are against the Second Amendment because they want to decrease violence and nobody should have guns. The same people that are anti-abortion because they want to save lives. And you're causing all this destruction just because your candidate lost. See, that's the problem with this country. You can't always get your way. Everybody wants to be politically correct. Quit being crybabies. Ain't nothing free. You ain't no slave. You don't get your way. So you act like a 2-year-old, burning up people's stuff, destroying the streets, making people late for work. Man, I'm glad I don't live in New York City or Washington or Oregon, because I would run one of y'all asses over. You are outrageous, man. You are the exact reason why Donald Trump won the election.
True.
Because we're tired of you crybabies. You didn't earn anything. None of you put on a uniform. But you're quick to disrespect the flag. Not want to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Not want to recognize the Bible. But you want everything. You didn't fight for anything, but you want it. It doesn't work like that. You know, I think it should be all these people out there that want to protest and burn stuff up. I don't think the cops should protect them. Obviously, when people look at the flag and say, that's not my flag, Donald Trump is not my president, then you know what? Then obviously, this ain't your damn country. Leave. Find another flag. Find another president. Go to Mexico. I really don't care. But quit tearing up stuff. Quit causing destruction and preaching peace. Because you're contradicting yourself. I'm Deion Alexander, American First.
Well spoken, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, let's go back to Q. All right. So Q wanted us to see that, and we know why. And let's go on. And here we are. We are coming up to the next one. And it's 10:22. I'm just going to go for a little bit longer, and I think I'm going to split this into two because let me see how much we still have to go here. Well, quite a bit. Oops. Well, now I've done it. I lost my place now. I hate when that happens. No, really, I do. Seriously. Yeah, we got a whole pile of posts left to go through. So let me just knock out a couple more, and then I'm going to break, and I'll come back with the second part of today's post. All right, so we're going to look at this right now, and it's a map. I know. You're saying, yeah, we know it's a map. Okay, well, it's a map, and basically, what is in the dark here, the dark brown, is states where illegals are able to get driver's license. And the green states are states where illegals are not able to get driver's license. All right, now, says it's very simple. Without the illegal vote, Democrats lose. Previous illegal immigration, high population versus Democrat win by county provided. Example 2. Why do Democrats push for illegals to obtain a driver's license? Does having a driver's license make it easier to vote? That's exactly why they push for it. Exactly why. They want them to vote. Why? Because they vote Democrat. That's how they get their votes. And the places where you have high illegal immigration population are also areas that are predominantly Democrat. Coincidence? I don't think so. So, and then we have another that we're going to look at here, another map. What states provide driver's license to illegals? Well, the states above here. What checks are in place within each of the driver's license granted states to prevent 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times voting? None. What checks are in place? None. Compare versus 2016 presidential election results. What do you notice? Do you believe in coincidences? Actually, no, I don't. Not when it comes to this, because Q has told us over and over again there are no coincidences. And Q says memes are important. Facts matter. Not to occasional cortex, but to us, yes, facts matter. Q. So, and down here is actually, this is, leads to this. And what is this? Well, we've seen this map before, and this is the Republican, states versus the Democrat states. And notice, okay, look, just take a boo here. Let me make this a little bit bigger, and we've got a bigger one coming up. We're going to be visiting this again. So look at the states that are blue, and then look at the states where illegals are allowed to have driver's license. You notice anything? Yeah, they overlap, don't they? Sure do. Well, should that surprise any of us? Doesn't surprise me. I doubt it surprises you. Unless you're just really easily surprisable, which could be a fact. I don't know. All right. Now, we're going to go up to the next one. We will be visiting those maps again very shortly. We're going to go up to the next one here. And let me make this bigger so that I can read it and that you will have at least a hope of reading it. Okay. I know it's blurry. Okay, so again, Q is referencing an anon who states, why do Democrats want to control the black population? And this is for Q Byte Crumbs 2017 1101 Black Population PNG, and this is something that this anon has written out from Q Bytes or Q Byte Crumbs. Why do Democrats want to control the black population? Why do they intentionally keep poor and in need? Why do Democrats project racism on a daily basis against Republicans? Why do black elected officials do the crazy talk on behalf of Democrats? And remember, the Democrats are just projecting what they themselves are. They're projecting it onto other people. Same thing as a husband that's accusing you of cheating when they are actually the one that's cheating. Same sort of deal. All right. How do the Democrats cover the historical facts of forming the Confederacy? KKK and oppose all things pro-black regarding legislation? What happens if the Democrats lose the slave grip on the black population? What do Democrats, through the funding of the CIA, prop up and install, or why do Democrats, through the funding of the CIA, prop up and install Hollywood media assets? Does this fall within Operation Mockingbird? What were the historical advantages Democrats gained by having the mainstream media and famous people peddling the narrative? Well, of course, if all the media and the Hollywood actors are, spouting the same narrative, it makes it hard for people to believe otherwise because all they're hearing is the false narrative. All right, who exposed the pedo network within Hollywood? You can't answer the above, but will laugh once disclosed details. The network which controls this false narrative, which in turn keeps the black population under control, is being dismantled. False local and national black leaders will be exposed next as shills for the Democratic Party. Follow the money. Maxine Waters has a $4 million home and cash assets in excess of $6 million. How is that possible? She's just one example. All of these questions help to paint the full picture. Let's go down. Now, Q acknowledges that and says, black population waking up. Oh, indeed they are. Absolutely. I think more and more are coming out. People like, what is her name? Candace Owens, I think. Really, people that are really good spokespeople. And, they're waking up. The whole, what is it? Blexit, the Black Exit, movement. Yeah, definitely. They are waking up. So that was posted originally on October 31st, and Q is actually providing the actual crumbs that it came out of, and that was from October 31st, 2017. And when we come down here, Q is acknowledging and saying date posted early, October 31st, 2017, prior to the Black population awakening. Why did we emphasize as important? When you are awake, we can see clearly. Now, he later in another post will correct this. He meant to say, when we are awake, we can see clearly. So that was just a typo or an error. All right. So what he's saying is, look, we were talking about this way back, when this whole Q stuff started back in October 2017. So, do you think that's a coincidence that we posted this way back then prior to them waking up? Of course not. They knew. Said, why did we emphasize as important? Well, it is all important because traditionally the Democrats have kept the blacks in a slave mentality of needing the free stuff, needing the Democrats. And, really, they have not done them any favors whatsoever. And I think they're waking up to that fact that, look, these people are not our friends. I'm sure we've all been in situations like that where somebody is pretending they've got your best interest in mind and that they're your friend, and then you suddenly realize, ooh, this person is not my friend. Yeah, well, it's like that. All right, now let's go on. Now, he's just basically posting the exact same thing that we just looked at, but underneath he's correcting. He says swap we for you on the move. Q. So he's just letting us know that is a typo, it's an error, and to disregard. All right. Now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to break here, and I will be back. I'll let that upload, and I will come back, and I'll record the second half, so that will be available today as well. I want to keep caught up because everything is coming like hot and heavy right now. And I think if I don't stay caught up, I won't stay caught up. And I've got a ton of Q related news that I haven't been able to get to because Q is just prolifically writing, posting and posting, which is good. We're not going to complain. All right. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate you all. Thank you guys, those of you that have bought me coffee and have become Patreon supporters. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate you guys more than I tell you. Let me tell you, because I know that there's so many people that encourage me and pray for me. And I don't know what I ever did to deserve you all. But anyway, thank you guys so much. I'll talk to you real soon.